So this morning we continue our summer sermon series, I Love to Tell the Story, as we look at some of the classic Bible stories of the Old Testament, those stories that we learned as children, those familiar stories and characters that we know and love, as we look at them with grown-up lenses. As we look beyond the surface of the familiar story, we will get a different perspective and glimpse the biblical narrative in light of a richer understanding of our faith that we have developed as adults. So just a reminder, especially with the story of Noah, we won't be talking about the facts, whether the story is true or to look at all the details of the story. But we will look at the big picture, a broad view of the story, and then narrow it down and ask the questions, what is the deeper lesson of this story? In light of this story, how does God still interact with us today? And how does this story speak to me today? So today we look at the story of Noah and the Great Flood, one that we're all familiar with, right? Every Sunday school curriculum written for little children goes all out in the story of Noah, because we all know children love animals. So a lot of nurseries have a Noah themed, lots of toys. If you look on the shelf, there's at least one that's Noah related, usually an ark with little animals to play with, right? Children love animals. The story of Noah is a great story about taking care of animals. But unfortunately, the stories rarely go beyond the animal motif to the unimaginable destruction from which the animals are being saved. In this reorientation of the flood account for children, the story is effectively diluted. Pun intended. As you saw as we talked through the story a few moments ago, the details of the story are very child-friendly, when the truth is that it is not a children's story. It is not really a warm and fuzzy story with a happy ending, though it does have a good ending. This is a story of heartbreak, of God's heartbreak, a story of disappointment and destruction, and also a story of redemption and promise. So what is the big picture? The lesson that we can glean as we look at the story with our grown-up glasses. One observation for us to make first is, who is the main character of the story? Any guesses? What? God. You guys are so smart. You're just like the kids. You know all the right answers, right? The answer is always Jesus, by the way. That's what I learned at one point. All right. So surprisingly, it's neither the animals, nor the ark, nor righteous Noah as the focus of this narrative. It is a story about God. In fact, Noah never says a word in this story. It is all God. From the beginning, God is the focus of the story. We first meet Noah in the genealogy list of chapter 5 of Genesis. He's listed there, 10 generations from Adam. So we haven't gone too far in human history, and God is just about done. So Noah is the son of Lamech, who is the son of Methuselah. In this Bible trivia, Methuselah is the oldest man in the Bible, right? So during this short amount of time, since God banned Adam and Eve from the garden, humanity has not gotten any better. Only 10 generations have walked the earth, and God has had enough. So we see in Genesis 6, the Lord saw that the wickedness of humans was great in the earth, and that every inclination of the thoughts of their hearts was only evil continually. And the Lord was sorry that he had made humans on the earth, and it grieved him to his heart. So the Lord said, I will blot out from the earth the humans I have created, people together with animals and creeping things and birds of the air, for I am sorry that I made them. But Noah found favor in the sight of the Lord. So God was grieved with what he saw, what his beautiful creation had become. The relationships that he sought when he created humankind were nowhere to be found, except for one man who found favor with God, Noah. Noah stood out, righteous above all others. One commentator writes that Noah was an oddball. Now, he didn't fit in with the rest of the people, so that makes him odd. But Noah caught the eye of God, and through Noah, God made a promise and a plan. This is a story of promise. Now the earth was corrupt in God's sight, and the earth was filled with violence. And God saw that the earth was corrupt, for all flesh had corrupted its ways upon the earth. And God said to Noah, I have determined to make an end of all flesh, for the earth is filled with violence because of them. Now I am going to destroy them along with the earth. Make yourself an ark of cypress wood, make rooms in the ark, and cover it inside and out with pitch. This is how you are to make it. The length of the ark, 300 cubits, its width, 50 cubits, and its height, 30 cubits. Make a roof for the ark, and finish it a cubit above, and put the door on the ark on its side. Make it with lower, second, and third decks. For my part, I am going to bring a flood of waters on the earth to destroy from heaven under heaven all flesh in which is the breath of life. Everything that is on earth shall die. But I will establish my covenant, that's the promise, with you, and you shall come into the ark, you, your sons, your wife, and your sons' wives with you. And of every living thing of all flesh you shall bring 2 of every kind into the ark, to keep them alive with you. They shall be male and female, of the birds according to their kinds, and of the animals according to their kinds, of every creeping thing of the ground according to its kind. 2 of every kind shall come in with you, to keep them alive. So the promise. God informed Noah of his plan to destroy everything, and how Noah and his family would be spared. The plan for how all that God created in the beginning would also be spared. The plan that would cause destruction and devastation to all that remained behind. The promise, the covenant that God made, was to save Noah and his family, to save a pair of each creature. Through Noah, God would begin again. I am always amazed at what Noah is able to accomplish. This huge task of building an ark, almost 2 football fields in length. And I am amazed that Noah does as he is told. Perhaps he prepares the ark and gathers all the supplies. And God does his part and brings the animals, birds and creeping things, 2 by 2, to enter the ark. Then God closed the door. And as God closed the door, it began to rain. Now here's the part that gets me every time I read this story. How long did it rain? How long was Noah in the ark? Spoil sport. Yep, you're right. Yes, I'll get to that in just a second. So God told Noah, I will send rain on the earth for 40 days and 40 nights, and every living thing that I made will be blotted out from the face of the ground. So God unleashed chaos. Where God once made order out of chaos in the creation story, God separated the water, the earth, and the heavens, made sense out of the chaos. Here, God now made chaos. God now opened the heavens and the floodgates on earth, and the water came. And here's more to the story, more than just 40 days of raining. So the flood continued 40 days on the earth, and the waters increased and bore up the ark, and it rose high above the earth. The water swelled and increased greatly on the earth, and the ark floated on the face of the waters. The waters swelled so mightily on the earth that all the high mountains under the whole heaven were covered. The water swelled above the mountains, covering them 15 cubits deep. And all flesh died that moved on the earth, birds, domestic animals, wild animals, all swarming creatures that swarm on the earth, and all human beings. Everything on dry land in whose nostrils was the breath of life died. He blotted out every living thing that was on the face of the ground, human beings and animals and creeping things and birds of the air. They were blotted out from the earth. Only Noah was left, and those with him in the ark. And the waters swelled the earth for 150 days. Rain 40 days. Waters continue to rise 150 days. Chaos, commotion, destruction, and devastation. All that God had once called good was now gone. But what God had separated and placed in the ark was the beginning all over. The promise of a new beginning was all that was left. So now imagine that you are Noah or a member of his family. What is going through your mind? What was only to be a short duration, right? God told Noah it was going to rain for 40 days, 40 nights. It has now become 150 days, and there is no longer any landmarks, no longer any signs of life beyond the ark. What amazes me throughout this story is that Noah never speaks. Noah never asks God any questions, never complains or asks how much longer, never asked if there was any other way that he can do this. Noah's response was action, getting to work on the task he had been given, building the ark, gathering the animals, gathering the supplies, getting everybody on board safely. Noah's response was faithfulness, trusting that God would keep his promise. So I love how the story continues as we turn the page up from destruction of chapter 7 to the restoration of chapter 8. It says, but God remembered Noah and all the wild animals and the livestock that were with him in the ark. And he sent a wind over the earth, and the waters receded. Now the springs of the deep and the floodgates of the heavens had been closed, and the rain had stopped falling from the sky. The water receded steadily from the earth. At the end of 150 days, the waters had gone down. And on the 17th day of the 7th month, the ark came to rest on the Mount of Ararat. The waters continued to recede until the 10th month. And on the first day of the 10th month, the tops of the mountains became visible. Did you do the math? It's a lot of days. But God remembered Noah, remembered his promise. So here's some fun facts. So Noah, when he entered the ark, was 600 years old when the first drop of rain fell. To be exact, he was 600 years, 2 months, and 17 days. He was 601 years, 2 months, and 27 days old when he exited the ark on dry land. I'm pretty certain the day that Noah entered the ark, he didn't anticipate spending his birthday there. This adventure probably wasn't what he had planned. Life is never how we plan it, for better or for worse. But God remembered Noah. God remembered Noah. So Noah went out with his sons and his wife and his sons' wives, and every animal, every creeping thing, and every bird, everything that moves on the earth, went out of the ark by families. Noah built an altar to the Lord and took every clean animal and every clean bird and offered burnt offerings on the altar. And when the Lord smelled the pleasing odor, the Lord said in his heart, I will never again curse the ground because of humans, for the inclination of the human heart is evil from youth, nor will I ever again destroy every living creature as I have done. As long as the earth endures, seed time and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, day and night shall not cease. God is a God of promise. God was disappointed with humanity and was ready to destroy all of creation, every living, breathing thing. But Noah caught his eye. So God told Noah his plan and promised to save his family. God followed through with his plan. Torrential rain, rising waters. Then the waters ceased to rise and began to clear, revealing dry land. God kept his promise to Noah, and out of gratitude, Noah built an altar and made a sacrifice. God was pleased with Noah and all that Noah had done in obedience to God's call. God had one more promise. So then God said to Noah and his sons with him, "As for me, I am establishing my covenant with you and your descendants after you, with every living creature that is with you, the birds, the domestic animals, and every animal on the earth with you. As many came out of the ark, I established my covenant with you, that never again shall all flesh be cut off from the waters of a flood, and never again shall there be a flood to destroy the earth." God said, "This is the sign of the covenant that I make between me and you and every living creature that is with you for all future generations. I have set a bow in the clouds, and it shall be a sign of the covenant between me and the earth. When I bring clouds over the earth and the bow is seen in the clouds, I will remember my covenant that is between me and you and every living creature of all flesh, and the water shall never again become a flood to destroy all flesh. When the bow is in the clouds, I will see it and remember the everlasting promise between God and every living creature of all flesh on the earth." And God said to Noah, "This is the sign of the promise that I have established between me and all flesh that is on the earth." God is a God of promise. God's promise to Noah and all who would come after him. Never would God destroy creation in this manner again. No matter how terrible things got on earth, never would he pull back the floodgates and open the heavens and cover the earth with water. The rainbow is God's reminder of the promise that he made. But I don't know if you caught it. It's not our reminder. It's God's reminder. It is to remind God to never flood the earth again. No matter how discouraged or angry or disappointed God becomes with us, the promise still remains. The bow in the sky reminds God of his promise. God is filled with compassion, grace, and mercy. We saw that in the garden last week with Adam and Eve. We see that here with Noah. God was filled with disappointment at the state of humanity, the evil that was filling the earth. What God once crafted so thoughtfully was quickly becoming unrecognizable, and God's heart was breaking. God had enough and was ready to wipe it all out. But Noah caught his eye, and God's heart was softened. We don't know much about Noah. He was a righteous man, and that's all that we know about him, really. Noah's righteousness and faith places him in the heroes of faith found in the book of Hebrews, chapter 11. It says this, it says, "By faith Noah, warned by God about events as yet unseen, respected the warning and built an ark to save his household. By this he condemned the world and became an heir to the righteousness that is in accordance with faith." Righteousness is all that God asks for. That was enough for God to change plans from total annihilation to recreation. In Noah, God saw the opportunity to start again. Noah witnessed the chaos around him and chose to live differently. This might sound familiar. Chaos is always around us. It is a choice for us to respond appropriately. Noah witnessed the chaos and chose to live differently. He walked a different path, lived a different kind of life, and was rewarded far beyond any way he could have imagined. Through it all, Noah remained faithful. God is a God of promise. Even though it took longer than expected, 40 days, 40 nights turned into a year and 10 days. God remembered Noah and brought him safely through the chaos of the waters. Friends, God remembers us, and in the storms and trials that we face, God is faithful to walk with us in the way through. It might not be the way we planned. It might not even be in the time frame in which we think. But God will remember, and God will bring us through. When we are faithful, when we walk with God, God is faithful too. Remember, out of the chaos that was unleashed on creation, God recreated all that was good. We see in this story a reminder that God is able to bring restoration out of destruction. God is in the business of recreating, and our lives testify to that grace. We are saved from our sin and condemnation. We are salvaged for ministry and service to God. God keeps his promises. God continues to remember us, the faithful who follow and obey, who love with or without questions. Life often doesn't go as planned, but God's plan is always perfect, always on time, always beautiful in the end. Noah's story reminds us of that. From beginning to end, God was with Noah, keeping an eye on Noah and keeping his promise. And friends, God keeps that promise to us as well. Thanks be to God. Amen.